Good morning. I don't know when you're watching this. Everybody, I am Mike at Filmboy24. Let me start off by saying thank you to every single one of you that has subscribed. In a million years, I would have never, ever thought I would have gotten over 500 subscribers. Probably doesn't mean a lot to a lot of people. It means a lot to this guy. It really does. I never would have guessed that over 5 or 10 people would have been interested in watching what this goofball has to say, but over 500 subscribers is insane for a goofball like me. So thank you, every single one of you. And thank for all of you that didn't subscribe. How about do it right now? I'll give you a second. I appreciate it. Today, what are we going to do? Well, I'll tell you. We're going to load this 50-foot, 16-millimeter magazine. So I talked about it a little bit in a previous video on 16mm movie film shooting. Part 1. If you haven't seen it, take a peek at it. You'll enjoy it. Where I really went into some detail. We opened one of these up. We ran it for the 50 feet. We opened it up again just to see what it looked like. But we didn't load it. So that's what we're going to do today. I promised you I would load it. I don't break promises for the most part. Pinky promises, definitely not. So we're going to open this bad boy up today. We are going to use some old, already exposed Kodachrome 50-foot of film, sort of dummy film, and we're going to load it up, and we're going to run it for a few feet and see what happens. So without a whole lot more of from me, let's do a close-up right now of loading this guy up. Okay, now that we're in close, let's take this apart. Here's our cartridge. Now there's a couple of things you're going to need. You'll need some way to sort of get the dust and dirt out of the inside of the cartridge, whether it be one of these bulb brush blowers or a can of compressed air or something like that. Let's break into it. You have these 2 screws, one here, and there's tape usually on the edges of the cartridge here, or the magazine. I've already removed that. So we take the 2 screws out, open it up, and voila, here we go. There's the inside of our magazine. I have 50 feet, or roughly 50 feet of film here on this core that I rolled up earlier, and it's old exposed Kodachrome film that is worthless. So what we do is we pull this bottom roller out, and it has this little brass retaining spring here. Pop that off, as you can see. We set that aside. And then you want to take a brush or some compressed air and sort of just dust this magazine out. Get jiggy with it here. A little compressed air. Just make sure there's no dust, dirt, particles, trash, food bags, small animals, anything growing inside here. You can also take this take-up reel, take-up spindle out, and remove the retaining ring from it if you can. Pop that ring off of the take-up reel. Now here's our, like I said, our 50 feet of film. And what you have to do is you start. Now the film is a little bit wider than these reels, than these, I don't know what these are called, I guess this little spindles. You take your little spring, snap it around the film, and I try not to catch too much of the film. I do just enough. I want the film to pop off. When it's done, I want it to pull out of there. So I don't catch too much of it, maybe about halfway into the spring here. It's not imperative that it's that it's all the way looped around. It's not going anywhere. And then, by the way, all of this has to be done in the total darkness. So you wind your film, and I'm not going to make you watch this. So you just wind your film all the way up onto this little spindle here. Like so. Basically what you're doing is you're winding your fresh film onto the feed spool, getting it ready to be exposed. So we will be right back. Okay, so we're wound. We went from this to this. And remember, this is fresh film ready to be exposed. And remember, we're doing all of this in total darkness. It's a little overwhelming the first few times you do it, but once you do it, it's kind of like loading the Lomo. Once you do it a few times, it becomes second nature. So what you do is you want to pull off, I don't know, about 2 feet of film. And I know it's off camera here, but pull off about 2 feet of film, and you want it in the sort of the 6 position like this, and you want to seat it on the little spindle. Now, with this thing removed, these little guide rollers, and I'll be honest, I'm not totally convinced that you even need this little connector bar. I've used it, and I continue to use it only because Kodak put it in there, but I don't think you actually need it. It kind of makes it a little tougher to use. So we have a couple of feet pulled away from our main feed spool. First thing you want to do is go behind your sprocket roller here, your main drive roller, with the film. And you want to sort of feel, because you're not going to be able to see, you want to feel and pull until it catches. So now we know that the sprockets have engaged. You want to come straight across, just like this. Follow around the side of the magazine. You want to go completely behind the pressure plate. Follow it all the way back, all the way down, and you want to form another loop right here at the bottom, like so, and you want to come back through. Come on. You want to come back through just like this, and you want to do the same thing you did earlier. You want to catch it. You want to, in the dark, feel and make sure you have a nice handy little loop here, and you want to catch it on those perforations, and if you can, hold it. Then you want to grab the thing that fell apart. Again, I'm not convinced that, in fact, let's try it without using this little connector rod. So you take your 2 guide rollers, and we'll go right behind the film, in front of this back piece of film, but behind your other 2 pieces of film here, and push them straight down. Make sure you're taut. Then you want to take your take-up reel, snap your retention ring back on, and you want to wind it clockwise, like so, in the dark. You kind of want to get this one tight, if you can, because once you seat it, remember you can't really wind it because of that little gear in the bottom there. And you want this is like your little footage counter here, and you want to keep that out of the way and seat that down. Now it's not going to unspool because it's catching on the little gear here. If you want to pick it up, twist it a little bit more, just like so. We are fully loaded. Push everything down. Looks like we are ready to go. We are going to place our top on. So what you do is you flip this little spring-loaded pin all the way up, and you hold it. If you hold your finger on this little screw piece here, on this little straight slot, see, watch it. So you have to wind this, you have to roll this all the way up against the spring, hold it, and this little pin here on the back side is going to connect with this little footage counter piece right here. It's going to stay on this side of it. And you want to let go, give it a tap, seats everything nicely, put the screws back in, and then you want to take some tape Now I use this gaffer's tape, and it's about 1/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch thick. I can't remember. But you take a little bit of tape, and you can use any kind of gaffer's tape. But this is kind of what Kodak used. And I know this is probably a little out of focus because I stood this up. But you want to go all the way around the edge, just like so. Just like this. Take your scissors, cut it. And this part you can do in the light, or at least doesn't have to be full darkness. I would do this part in kind of the same kind of light that you would use for loading a daylight spool, just dim light. So we've taped this up, and now it is ready to shoot. So let's do a quick experiment. I'm going to take, and I hit the camera, sorry. I'm going to take my Cine Kodak Royale. We're going to open it up. We're going to insert the magazine, close it all the way to run. Going to run it for a second. I know I keep hitting the camera. And then shut it off. Open it up. And I essentially just want to make sure that not including this little connector pin here, or connector piece, didn't make a difference. So let's peel the tape off. Let's unscrew. And there you go. Absolutely perfect. As you can see, it's winding up exactly the way it should. You see, that wasn't that difficult. Well, it was a little bit difficult. What I learned, and I didn't tell you at the end, was you can actually put that little retaining clip back around those guide rollers once the guide rollers are in place. Here's a very quick 10-second super close-up of how you snap that little retaining pin back in. Now I shot that 10 feet of footage, fake shot, dummy shot in my camera without that retaining clip onto those guide rollers, and it didn't seem to make a difference. At least the film was winding the way it should have. Now that's dummy film, so I'm not going to process it, but it didn't seem like it made a difference. So maybe you can just leave the clip out of it. I don't know. I might try that. There have been a couple of people that have asked about using single perf film because, as I talked about in the previous video, you really have to use 2R or double perf film, like this 7222 XX. This is double perf film. What about single perf film? That's something I'm going to explore, because I think if we just file down the top, what do they call those, sprockets? If we file down the top sprockets on that main drive roller, it might work. So stay tuned. As of this shooting today, I haven't tried it. But if you're watching this video down the road, maybe I have it done, and maybe the link is going to be posted. I don't see why you couldn't. We're going to give it a shot. Stay tuned. If you like videos like this, and I hope that you do me a favor. Cover your ears, Keith. Punch that like button for me. Subscribe. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think. Do you load your own film? If you don't load your own film and you want some, go to FPP or the Film Photography Project. They preload these cartridges. You shoot them, send them back. They process them. They scan them. They send you your results. Now, I'm in no way affiliated with those guys. I just really like what they do and how they keep film alive. 2 things you have to remember. Don't drop that. 2 more things you have to remember. Batteries kill unused cameras. And, yeah, it's goofy, I know. I'll see you on the next go around.